Hey, friends! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. Come join me, your host, Nicole, for some hope-filled conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing. Hey, Hearties! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. I'm your host, Nicole.
And welcome to the Hearties Hotline. I'm your host, Cammie, the Hooked Hearty. We are joining forces today.
Yes, we are, for a very fun mystery movie.
Nelly Knows Mysteries, A Fatal Engagement, of course.
Yes, starring Kevin Smith as Michael Hogan and Pascal Hutton as Nellie Parker. It was written by Catherine Wagner and directed by David Strasser. Local advice columnist with knowledge of the town's secrets gets entangled in a murder case, clashing with the detective leading the investigation.
Of course.
Yes. Cammie, what were your hot takes on this movie? So your quick initial thoughts about it.
So first thing is that they named Kevin's character Michael Hogan.
Yes,
that may mean something to everybody. It may not, but Michael Hogan is the actor who played Kevin, or Nathan's father, on When Calls the Heart.
Yes, Archie Grant.
And he suffered a very debilitating blow, and he was having bleeding on the brain. He was in the hospital for a very long time. And what I know is that he is out of the hospital now, but he's in no shape to go back to work. So I don't know if we're going to see him in any more projects. And so just them, I don't even know if this was done on purpose, but it seemed like it. And
yeah,
for them to just pay homage to Michael Hogan that way. And Michael Hogan is one of the few people who has been on When Calls the Heart and Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
Yes. Yes, he played the military guy.
He played the Captain Hopper.
That's right.
And To Whom It May Concern. Yeah. The big pile of government red tape.
Yes.
that Shane was saying, no, don't give him the form.
Yes, I couldn't remember his character's name, but I knew he was in that episode.
I just watched it yesterday, so that's why.
Don't take away my Postables card.
No, not this time. But I will take away your Postables card if you can't tell me who else from Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
Okay, I will get to that in a minute, but why don't you share more of your hot takes?
All right, fine, if we're going to do this by the book. What I loved was it gave kind of a campy vibe. It gave a very old-fashioned 50s, 60s, that kind of vibe. I mean, I was looking at Pascal's wardrobe. It was very 50s and 60s and just cute. Oh my gosh. Yes. And then they're in, were they in the diner that Helen owned when they were having the milkshakes?
I believe so.
A different spot, but
it did look different, but it could be the same.
So I don't know if they're in the same spot, but when they're having milkshakes, you've got the whole 50s go to the drugstore vibe, and there were even what looked like, I don't know if it was, I didn't have my glasses on, but it looked like there were vinyl records on the wall as decoration. And then the music, there were all different types of music but they were all old-fashioned vibes. I think I heard some 20s music in there, and then definitely some 50s and 60s. And so there was just this cute old-fashioned vibe. And I loved that. That was really great.
Yeah, me too. I got A lot of Danny and Sandy from Grease vibes in that scene when they're drinking the milkshakes. A lot of people said that on Twitter. It's not just me.
Danny and oh man, I would not have picked Danny and Sandy. I mean, I guess it could work,
It
but
could,
I
yeah.
mean, Michael didn't, or should I say Mickey, poor guy, couldn't get away from that ridiculous nickname. But yeah, he didn't strike me as a greaser. He just had a leather jacket on. So
Yeah, that's true. I thought that the chemistry and the dynamics with the cast was great.
well,
Of
I mean, we're
course,
talking about Kevin and Pascal here. So
yes.
we
Yeah.
knew that. And, it wasn't just, you could tell that they were being a little flirty, the
Yeah.
characters. But even
Hmm.
when they weren't being flirty, they just work so
They
well.
do.
They
Yeah.
work so well together. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I knew that
Yeah.
that would not be the problem.
Yeah. And even the rest of the cast, I thought worked
Oh,
very
yeah.
well together. Yeah.
Yeah.
The banter, of course, between Kevin and Pascal was fantastic as always. Wardrobe, we already talked about that one point.
I want some of that wardrobe.
Me
I,
too.
I want that green jacket.
I love the green jacket too. Yes. And I enjoyed seeing all the familiar faces from Signed, Sealed, and When Calls the Heart. We've got Jill Morrison, who plays Helen, who owns the diner.
And she's
Erin,
in both.
yes, Erin and Kate Craven, who played Connor and Paige Woolley. Erin was Elliot Garvey in season 2 of When Calls the Heart, and
Yep.
Governor Ryan Hallett in Signed, Sealed from the Heart.
Very good.
And Kate Craven, she was Eleanor Roberts in When Calls the Heart season 5.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry Ingram in Chesapeake Shores season 3.
That's not
And
signed, sealed, delivered.
no, it's still Hallmark though. So I had to mention it. And I find it funny that Kate's character on When Calls was also involved with Kevin's character.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, the silent partner's wife appears.
Yes, yep.
Indeed.
And last one, Emma Pedersen, who played Jodie Day in this movie. She was Nikki in One in a Million.
You missed one.
I missed one? Who did I miss?
You missed Sarah Gray.
Oh,
Dahlia
yes.
Chatters.
That's right. Yes.
She played Carson Shepard's sister-in-law, the nice one. Cindy Busby is
Oh,
the mean
that's
one.
right.
But
Yes.
she plays the sister-in-law who comes and needs brain surgery.
That's right. Yep.
Yes. And so yeah, she was
She's great too. Yeah. And I would love a sequel to this movie to see where the story goes next.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there are there are pairings and casts that work, and there are pairings and casts that don't. This one worked.
Yes, I agree.
This one worked, and just, I mean, what was it? Somebody said that they got Scooby-Doo vibes from this because
I can see that a little
I can
bit.
totally see that when Nelly catches the newspaper
Yep.
at the beginning and the end of the film, just just throwing that tiny little cute thing in, and
Yep.
her being an advice columnist, very much like Rosemary and One Calls the Heart. They're doing things that they're good at. And I'll be completely honest, I didn't quite care for the mystery as much,
I see
but
what you're saying.
I loved watching them, and I loved watching the surroundings being built and being established. So for no other reason than just wanting to see where they can take this storyline. Yes, I want a sequel. But there are other reasons besides that. But that's the big one, is I would love to see where they go with this.
Yes, me too. So why don't we just get into that mystery with our suspects and clues?
Suspects and clues. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So, Paige.
Yep.
So I went back and forth on Paige.
Yeah,
First,
me
I
too.
thought that she was because of the pen
Mhm.
thing, but
Yes.
immediately I said, nope, too easy. And it's
Mhm.
in a mystery film or a
Yeah.
mystery story, it's always the most obvious ones that are not
Mhm. Too
the
easy.
the
Yeah.
actual murderers. So I said no, too easy. And then when she came back and started threatening Nelly, I went, "Wait a sec. Hold on here."
Me too.
And then she used the letter opener. That was
Mhm.
very reminiscent of Signed, Sealed, Delivered, making a big
Yes.
deal about the letter opener and
Yep.
threatening with letter openers, shall we say? But
Mhm.
then she's saying, "Don't talk to the detective." I'm like, loud enough for the detective to hear you in the background.
Yeah.
Great, that's really smart. But I thought, wait a second, hold on. And then she breaks down crying, and I thought, okay,
Yeah,
maybe
no.
she's not. And then her husband walks in, and he actually is. I'm like, hold on,
Yeah.
So that kept my head spinning.
Mhm. So from the scene at the end, when she's talking, we hear that her husband, Connor, is a banker, but also a shopaholic. Their bank accounts are all drained. She used it as a chance to get out of debt. She met one of Connor's clients who said he'd cut her in for a half the difference if he got her uncle's house for 80,000 under market value. She thought it was low risk. Blake overheard her talking with the buyer in the yard, so she had to cut him in, and she convinced him to keep his mouth shut for half her share. So basically, Blake was blackmailing her.
Yeah. So, the victim isn't exactly squeaky clean in all of this.
No, not at all. Mm-mm. So, Dahlia, what did you think about Dahlia?
I did not think that she did it.
Mm-mm. No.
I thought I thought that maybe she was a little on the sketchy side,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't think that she would have committed the murder. She was too much in love with
Mm-hmm.
Blake, even though he seemed way, way
Yeah.
beneath her. She
Yeah.
seemed very much in love with him, and yeah, I didn't think that she had done it.
Yeah. I'm glad she didn't. But usually, in a case like this, when there is a significant other, the significant other that is not the one that died is the one that is the
Right.
suspect,
And
usually.
if they're not the murderer, because sometimes it has been,
Yeah.
but if they're not the murderer, then they are the first suspect. So
They're always the first suspect, yes, which is understandable because you never know. I mean,
love
could
does
be a
crazy
crime of,
things.
yep, crime of passion.
Yep. While we're on relationships, I just
Yeah.
want to go really quick to Fred,
Okay.
to Nelly's fiance Fred. I thought
Yeah.
when she started telling the story, I thought that she was going to say that he dumped her.
I did
And
too.
yeah, she had just chosen to keep her heart
Mhm.
guarded but be happy
Yeah.
in every other aspect of her life.
Mhm.
And then she said, and he died in a car crash. I went, oh, oh, this was not a bad breakup. This
Mm-mm.
was heartbreak to the max.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That was my favorite scene in the movie when they were at the diner having milkshakes and talking.
Yeah, that was probably the place where we saw Nelly the most vulnerable,
Mhm.
because everywhere else, even though that is her personality, she was still performing. You know,
Mhm.
she was on. She was she had to be on and constantly be quick, and had to do the bonkers. She had to be quick thinking, and she had to do all of this stuff, and she had
Mhm.
to keep Detective Hogan on his toes.
Yes.
But that was the one scene where we saw her slow down,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
we saw her not put on her persona, but dig a little deep. And
Yeah.
that's one of the greatest parts of watching movies like this with a really bubbly character, is when
Mhm.
they give you those scenes to really go inside, and the character themselves gets really introspective. So
Yeah.
now in the sequel, I want to hear more about Michael Hogan's divorce. I want to know what that's all
Yeah.
about.
Me too. Yeah. So back to our suspects.
Yes, back
Peter
to the suspects.
Wang. I think I pronounced that right. He was
Yes.
acting a little suspicious.
I thought that he was hitting on Nelly. And
Oh
that's
my
why I
gosh.
thought she was avoiding him.
Actually, I did too at first, but then that scene when she runs into him at the scene of the
Yeah.
crime, he was acting very suspicious.
Oh, definitely. But I was just like, are you following her? Do you want to date that badly? But
Yeah.
then you find out that he and Grace are
Grace.
are
Yeah.
married. Yeah. And so he's just wanting to confront her about the kitten.
Yep. Yep. And Peter was played by the wonderful Nelson Wong, who
Yeah.
has been in a ton of Hallmark movies. Yeah.
Yeah. We love Nelson.
Yes.
And
So,
Grace played by Sunita.
yep,
Gotta love
that's right.
Sunita. She's been
Yep.
all over. Uh,
Yes.
so I wondered at one point, I wondered if maybe Grace was a suspect simply because she was so out of it. You know, she was so removed from the mystery that I thought we're going to find some tidbit of how she's connected to Blake. And,
Hmm.
she's going to be an old girlfriend or something,
Hmm.
because she was the most removed. But
Hmm.
nope, I was wrong. And
Yeah.
may I also point out that one of the biggest challenges was I had my daughter talking in my ear the entire first time I watched it. And she's like, "Who's that, Mom? Who's that? Oh, Mommy, did she do it?" Honey, I don't know. I've never seen this movie. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sitting there trying to watch it. Okay,
Yeah.
no more first time watching. No more first time viewings of a mystery with you in the room.
Yes. Unless she
I
wants to watch too.
Yeah, she wants to watch too, but I'm gonna have to watch it without her, figure out what's going on, and then watch it with her so I don't miss anything.
That makes sense. Yeah. With Peter, what he wanted to get back was a watch that Blake won off of Grace the Friday before. He went to
Now,
see
was
Blake.
Grace at the poker game, or did Peter just
Yes.
take the watch?
Grace was at the poker game, I
Okay,
believe. Yes.
I missed that one.
Yes. And he went to see Blake and explained that the watch was worth too much for the game, but he wouldn't hear it and said he won fair and square. Blake, that is.
Yes. Gambling is
Rumples.
never a good idea. It's just, you
Why I
always
don't do
get in
it.
trouble. Always get in trouble with gambling.
Yep. Gambling is a no-go
Yeah.
for me.
All right. So, what did you think of Jody?
Jody was interesting. What about you? What did you think of her?
I They did a good job with
Yes,
her
they did.
because you didn't know, because she
Mm-mm.
wasn't the first suspect. And, there have been those times where a person is spoken to and they sound pretty innocent. So the
Mm-hmm.
detective moves on, and then it comes back to bite them and they get caught in the lie.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she was giving off some very suspicious vibes,
Yeah,
and
she was.
the facial expressions. Emma was killing it with the
Mm-hmm.
facial expressions. And so
Yeah.
I was very curious. Wait a minute. What's this? What's the picture of her in the dress?
Yeah.
That had to have been one of the most embarrassing moments, if not the most embarrassing, for Michael in the entire case, because
Probably, yeah.
she is not the type who would wear a dress. I mean, she's a carpenter, and she dresses accordingly. She's in
Mm-hmm.
overalls all the time, and all of that. And then, this is a very provocative picture of you. Detective, have you ever lost a bet? And I went, oh no. I thought that Jody was hiding a more feminine side to her, but nope.
Yeah. Yep. But Jody is ruled out pretty quickly, I would
Very,
say.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty early.
Yeah. Rumple Snide. He was a
Gosh.
little suspicious in the beginning, but then he was also ruled out pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
I mean, holding a gun in the face of our protagonist is gonna. But
Yeah.
I think that's what made it a little too obvious for me. I'm like, no,
Yes.
it's never gonna be the grumpy old person who's actually doing the threats.
Nope. And he tells Nellie that Blake is no friend of his, which the first time I watched this, I was like, that could
that's
be reason for
that's motive.
motive. Yes.
Yeah, that's motive when you hate somebody that much.
Yes. And he's talking about how he heard angry shouting at 10 p.m. And then at 11, the light went on at the workshop, which shines into his window.
And
But
he was
that was just
very upset about that.
the motion sensor went
Right.
on. Yeah. And it kind of made me laugh when, after he's talking about how it was the motion sensor that went on and
Hmm.
how Blake trips it every time he goes out to his workshop. They're talking about intruders and he's like rats, rabbits, slugs, snakes, you.
You.
And Nellie's just like, okay, moving on.
Well, and Nellie's already feeling very bad. Remember when
Yeah.
she crosses the crime tape? Forgive me for trespassing. So she's already feeling
Yeah.
terrible, but her
Yes.
curiosity gets the better of her, and then she gets a gun stuck in her face, and then she gets insulted. So poor Nellie.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So, in the absence of Sarah, I have to bring this up. The
Okay.
murder board.
Yep. I
The
love.
murder board. The murder board is always Sarah's favorite. She loves
Yes.
murder boards. So I have to bring this up. And, okay, can I just say that was probably the worst location ever for a murder board, right in the middle of the office that
Yeah.
that Nellie and Fiona work in, and it is at the Babbleton. That I don't think that's a coincidence that the town is called Babbleton. I don't think we're talking about babbling brooks.
No, clever. I see what you did there.
Thank you. So we have a murder board based
Mhm.
on Nelly's
Yeah.
speculations. I won't call it evidence because so
Yeah.
we have a murder board in the middle of an office of Babbleton magazine,
Mhm.
Babbleton Life magazine,
Yeah.
with all of the employees around. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, working as a background actor, it's made me a lot more observant of background actors.
Mhm.
And nobody in the office was kind of eyeing the murder board suspiciously or
Yeah.
curiously, and I went, no way. Sorry, not true to life. If that thing was on a bulletin board
Mhm.
inside an office, there is no
People.
way that everyone would stick to their own desk and
Yeah.
mind their own business.
Yeah. People would be looking.
Crowded around it.
Yes. I think the better option would be like Goldie and Marla in Goldie's home, like when they had the murder board at her house and not in a public space
Bad.
or office. Oh my goodness.
Oh man, because yeah, that was funny. I mean
Yes,
that's
it
where,
was.
because you know that people
Yeah.
who are writing this, you know that they aren't going to be that unobservant.
No.
You they know that people would be crowded around it. So it's
Yeah.
kind of part of the joke. It's part of the surroundings and the
Mhm.
vibe to make it more campy, you know, and
Yeah.
because I think that was the vibe they were going for, was a little
Mhm.
on the campy side. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I think that that was mostly for laughs, to put it right in the middle of the office of
Yeah.
the Bolton Life magazine, but
Yep.
still.
Yes. Yep. Agreed. And I did think it was kind of funny when Nellie was trying to hide the board from Michael, kind of like Goldie and Marla hiding the board from Tom.
Goldie and Marla doing this whole number, you know.
And Tom's just like, anyway,
Wrong mystery.
back to Nellie Knows. Connor.
Connor,
Yeah, we have gotten to the culprit.
the culprit. Okay. First word that came to my mind when I saw him for the first time on screen, it's a toss up between wuss and nerd.
Yeah.
Because he was acting like a very weak man, and
Yeah.
then, you know, very odd behavior for a banker, that he wouldn't, I mean, I can see his point that he wouldn't want to gamble for money because that's what he works with all day,
Hmm.
but ducks, collectible ducks,
Yeah, no.
what, you know, and and then, you know, she says he's a banker but he's a shopaholic, and I went, oh, that tracks, because I mean, look at all of those worthless statues with his collection. And I mean, and he says, well, they're worth XYZ, and then sell them for XYZ, or better yet, don't buy them for XYZ, you know. But yeah, he came off as a very weak man,
Hmm.
and then, you know, just not at all what I expected, to see him start threatening Nelly and his own wife.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I was not expecting. That I thought that maybe Paige was going to reveal that she was
The
in
one that.
on it, you
Hmm.
know, that she acts all innocent for Nelly's benefit, or she goes in to try to figure
Hmm.
out what Nelly knows, and then it
Hmm.
turns out that she's in on it with him. But then no, he grabs his wife and sticks the gun in her gut and says she's gonna die. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. So he was one of the last to see Blake alive and one of the first to know about his murder when Peter was banking with him and received a call from Jody,
Mm-hmm.
which was a little suspicious.
Yeah, I just
And then,
I I couldn't quite grasp how he fit into all of that because Blake was blackmailing Paige.
yeah,
So did he just kill Blake because he was blackmailing Connor's wife?
it's always possible.
I know that's what I was trying to figure out. I couldn't
Mhm.
figure out his exact motive. Was did he somehow get mixed up in all of this, or did he not want everybody knowing about what a spender he was and how much in debt he was? Or
That could be.
I and then, when Nelly's putting it together, I'm like, wait, hold on, what? So that was the part. I mean,
Mhm.
it makes sense that Connor would be the murderer, but I couldn't
Mhm.
quite comprehend what his exact motive
Yeah.
was. That part was kind of glossed over. So
Yeah.
that was the part that was tricky for me.
Yeah. And then when he's talking to Michael and Nellie outside his and Paige's house, when he's
Hmm.
like, I'm not acting suspicious. When you say that, you're acting suspicious.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have to tell somebody that you're not doing something, usually means you are. So acting suspicious, yes. And he would be, the very fact that I saw him as a nerd or a wuss, or, somebody who was just kind of quietly living his life,
Mhm.
that makes him prime meat, prime material for being
Yes.
the murderer in a mystery story.
Yep. And he didn't know about the play that Paige apparently went to and thought she was sleeping when he came home because they are in separate rooms. She couldn't know where he was unless she passed him in the hallway. And I like how Nellie's like ships passing in the night.
Okay, so this is interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so we think it's a crime of passion, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like he came to murder Blake.
No.
But part of me wonders if he had been planning some kind of confrontation. Maybe not planning a murder, but I wonder if he bought her a bigger ring on purpose
Maybe.
because he knew that she would get offended and that it would drive them to sleep in separate rooms.
Maybe. That could be. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, like I said, I don't think that he meant to kill him, but if
No.
Paige is in a different room and she can't track his movement, then that would, that would be a good
Mhm.
alibi. Not really an alibi, but more of an excuse that
Yeah.
he can't know if he's in bed next to her because they're sleeping in different
Mhm.
rooms. So,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting to think. Maybe I wonder if he did that on purpose.
Yeah. And there was also a question about Paige possibly having an affair with Blake.
So, yeah, that gave good fodder for it.
Mhm.
So, what do you think? Do you think that there was ever any grounds for thinking that, or?
Mm. It's hard to tell. I mean, we know that their marriage was apparently on the rocks because they
Mhm.
were sleeping in two different rooms, but
Because of a ring? a ring size.
I think it's possible what you said. Probably a crime of passion. He
Yeah.
wasn't planning on killing Blake, but
Do you think that he planned something in advance?
it's possible. At least a confrontation.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Huh.
It's
This
hard to
mystery just
tell.
got a whole lot more mysterious than I thought it would.
Yes. But Connor is the killer.
There's one person that we didn't talk about.
Okay.
Colleen, the
Colleen?
stepsister.
What did you think about Colleen?
I thought she did it.
I did too at first.
Yeah,
Like,
I thought that she was the murderer because she was trying to protect her stepsister. At
yeah.
first I thought it would be out of jealousy. I
Hmm.
thought that it would be something like jealousy because maybe she wanted Blake, and Dahlia made a huge deal about, she's not my sister, she's my stepsister. So, it was a possibility that Colleen killed Blake just to hurt Dahlia. So, but then I was really surprised by her behavior. She was getting overprotective and defensive
Yeah.
for Dahlia, and I went, "Wow, that's
Yeah.
not that's not guilty behavior. That's
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. Let me strike that, because it is guilty behavior,
Hmm.
but it's guilty behavior if you're the one that's done it and you don't want to see someone you love getting pinned with the
Hmm.
murder.
Yeah.
So that was guilty behavior in that sense, that she didn't want to see Dahlia held responsible for
Yeah.
her actions, but it wasn't guilty behavior in the sense that she was trying to place it on her.
Yeah. That's true.
So,
Yeah.
or she wasn't, if she had been trying to hurt Dahlia, then that would have been a whole different demeanor that we would have seen from her.
Yeah. I have to say, with, finding out who the killer was, which was Connor, I still don't understand his
Motive?
motive. Yeah. Completely. I felt like there was a little bit of a plot hole to it.
That, yes, I agree. When Nelly said, "Wait, Connor saw him last because he's the killer," I went, "Hold on, whoa, what? Huh?" I would say yes. I would consider that a bit of a plot hole,
Hmm.
and something that just kind of fell through the cracks.
Yeah.
What? We need to go back and revisit that a little bit, and we need
Hmm.
to figure out what the motive is and what his motivations for that
Yeah.
motive were. Yeah, I didn't quite get that, and even on my second time around, it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like,
that's why
why?
we need it. That's one of the biggest reasons we need a
Yes.
sequel. Because
Yes.
when you're first starting out a series,
Hmm.
it can be really difficult when you're trying to establish the town
And the characters.
and
Yeah.
establish the all of the characters, and establish the culprit, and
Yeah.
establish the
Yeah.
suspects, and establish the motive. So
Yes.
pilots of series can get tricky. And
Yeah.
so I think that it would be much easier to have a clear motive
Hmm.
in a second movie.
Yeah.
And, the other fun part is, these two have been work spouses for
Yes.
years.
Yes.
It would be interesting to see, because I know that they have a lot of ideas,
Hmm.
and that a lot of these ideas were put in
Yeah.
to the characters. And so, I mean, what do the writers
Mm-hmm.
and Kevin and Pascal themselves have in mind for how
Yeah.
long they would make the fans wait before the two of
Yeah.
them get together somehow, you know? So,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I give Catherine, the writer, some grace because this is the first one in the
yes.
series.
Yes,
So,
she is not a well-versed mystery writer. And so, just this was her first mystery. She's trying
yes.
things out, and it was by no means unenjoyable.
No, not
Just
at
want a
all.
little bit more.
Yeah. I just wish we had known the exact reason why
Yeah,
Connor did it.
and tied together a little bit more clearly.
Yes, I agree. Moving into our highlights segment, are there any standout scenes that you want to mention?
You mentioned the milkshakes. I do love
Yes,
that scene, but I loved when they were having dinner together. I love that scene.
that was a good scene too.
Yes, because his obsession over pancakes, and I don't know if you noticed, but he's having pancakes with extra whipped cream. She's having tomato soup and grilled
Yep.
cheese, both comfort foods.
Yep.
And so I thought, huh, they're both having comfort foods in this little time that they're having together. Is it
Yeah.
because they're nervous and uncomfortable around each other? Or are they that comfortable with each other that they're having their comfort foods while they
Could be
talk?
either way.
It could
Yeah.
be. So,
Yeah.
but I really loved that scene because it's when they start really deep
Yep.
talking and
Yes.
they just get to know each other a little bit, and Kevin's stuffing his face.
Yep.
Those
Yep.
were some big bites that he was cutting.
Yep. I laughed when she's trying to have him tell her the typical. She's like, I want the typical. Give me the typical. And then she says, after Michael responds to that, but you love my inside information. People tell me things.
Yeah, she's it almost, this would have been too campy. This would have
Yeah.
been way too campy. But if they had done Nelly Knows
Yes.
Mysteries, I mean,
Yeah.
that fits with her tapping of her nose and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I have to wonder, because Kevin's big mannerism that he's used in multiple movies is, ding ding.
Yeah.
And so, but she kind of does the side tap. I wonder if
Yeah.
that's something that they came up with together.
I
But
wonder. Yeah.
if that had been in the title, that would have been too much. That would have been too
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
campy. But when you're not reading the title and you're just saying it, and all of that, I
Mm-hmm.
have a nose for this, and her
Yeah.
tapping her nose, it can get funny because and she's so nosy,
Yep.
so it just, yeah, it would have been really funny to have them explore that even more. I mean,
Yeah.
I think everybody got it. I think everybody
Yes.
got it that Nelly knows mysteries and she's really nosy. But
Yes.
but just to see that explored a little bit more and just see how nosy she can get, that
Yep.
would be fun to watch.
Yes. Nosy like Rosemary in a loving way.
There were so many similarities between
Yes.
Nelly and
And
Rosemary.
Rosemary. Yep.
So many similarities.
Yes. I also love in that scene when, she waves to a couple people walking by their table and
Oh
he's
yeah.
like, do you know everyone? Everyone knows everyone in Babelton. And then she starts showing him some of her magic. Yours truly, feeling jelly, intensely envious of his wife Darlene when she started getting attention at work. And Michael says something about the woman he's sitting with, and Nellie's like,
Yeah, like
that's
they look happy.
that's not Darlene. Oh, didn't see
That
that
was
coming.
Yeah, that was a great conversation. Oh, it looks like those two crazy kids worked it out or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
what it
then
was.
that's not Darlene. Cavan is the king of facial expressions. He really is. I
Yeah.
love watching his reactions, his facial expressions,
Yeah.
and just the way he finds so many different ways to say
Yeah.
things, and then watching his mouth, how wide could it go open?
Yeah. Yes.
It makes me wonder how many times did they do that scene? So was Cavan
Mhm.
going, "Oh, enough, no more pancakes," or was he saying, "Ooh,
Yeah.
yes, oh, I messed up that take. Sorry, need a fresh plate."
Yeah. Yeah. Before I forget and we start to wrap up, I have to mention Fiona for a second. I loved the
Yes,
friendship between her and Nellie.
better get cracking.
Yes, Detective Dreamy. I love how she called Michael Detective Dreamy.
I wrote that down too. Yep, Fiona calls him Detective Dreamy right there.
Yes. And
Yeah,
then
Fiona looks like
yeah.
a solid friend for
Mhm.
Nellie.
Yep, she does. And I thought Veronica did a great job playing
She did. She
Fiona.
did
Yeah.
fabulously.
One more scene that made me laugh with Michael and Nellie was when they're watching out for Jody. Jody is job hunting, and when Nellie walks up behind him, she says, "Do you have your binoculars?"
Like, oh, you scared me half to death. When Michael actually pulls out a magnifying glass because she
Yep.
was teasing him about it before. Yes,
Yep.
love that.
And then the end scene was great too, when Nellie has the cat
The kitty.
and they're talking about his promotion. And I love when Nellie says in response to him saying he's going to be in town for a while, she's
Uh-huh.
like, single and ready to mingle and babble. And he's like, oh boy.
Oh, that's what you get when you start spending time with an advice columnist. That was another thing about
Goodness.
Rosemary is, the letters are anonymous and she knows exactly who's
Hmm.
writing them. And so, and now here with Nellie, she
Yeah.
knows exactly who's writing them, but she's trying to insist on the anonymity. It's just,
Yes. Yeah.
it's so cute.
Agreed.
It's so funny.
Yes.
I would very much like to see another one of these.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving into our ratings to wrap up, what would you give this on a scale of 5 for mystery?
Out of 5 magnifying glasses.
Yeah. There you go. 5 magnifying glasses.
Okay, for the mystery itself, I probably have to give it a 3.
That's what
Because,
I was going to say too.
yeah, two and a
Too.
half or 3, because the mystery was not the part that I enjoyed the most. And it was the part
Yeah.
that was the foggiest for me.
Yeah. The cast. So the
Oh,
chemistry and dynamic with all the cast.
4.5.
Yeah. I was going to say 5, but
There you go.
4.5 is good too. And overall.
4.25.
Okay, that's fair. I was going to give it 4.
There you go. Okay.
But 4 is good too.
We're pretty close.
Yes. Well, this was so much fun chatting about this mystery with you and collaborating.
Yes. Sorry that Sarah couldn't be here, everybody. She
Yeah.
got sick. She got sick, and so she couldn't
Aw.
collab with us. But
Aw.
that's why we have good friends like Nicole.
Aw. Well, it is always fun having you on. And if you're listening, Sarah, we missed you and hope you'll be able to join sometime in the future. All right, Hearties. I think that wraps up our review of Nelly Knows Mysteries from the Swing My Heart podcast. And
The Hearties Hotline.
if you enjoyed this episode and are watching on YouTube, you can like this video from my channel, the Swing My Heart podcast, or the Hearties Hotline, and share your thoughts about Nelly Knows Mysteries in the comments. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure to rate and review, as your feedback is always greatly appreciated. If you want to stay up to date on all of our episodes from the Swing My Heart podcast or the Hearties Hotline, you can subscribe to our channels and make sure to turn on the bell so you are alerted when new episodes come. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world, and we will see you next time. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye, guys.